coming up on Rhetorically Defective.
The reputation Cenk is this jackass.
They're like, oh, you went to go kill black people. And then at that Black Lives Matter protest, you murdered a couple of people. Bravo, way to go, murderer. I love that guy. I want to give him my hard-earned money. So if he gets out of jail, maybe he can murder more people on behalf of the right wing.
Listen.
How am I supposed to get along with that guy?
The Majority Report is more like WWE. The Young Turks is more.
Not. It is the smartest hour in the leftist universe.
I will, as a boss, I will suspend her if she goes on your show.
We had a back and forth over email. We couldn't
You called
find
the manager.
time, and
You didn't get the response
I don't
you
want to
wanted.
give this more life.
You're backing out. It's unfortunate. I was
If
hoping
that,
to
hey
have you on because
Jesse, if that's what you want to hang your hat on, have a good rest of the week.
Sam Seder will say that his morality on political violence doesn't matter because he doesn't support outright violence.
You practically didn't think violence would bring about change in a positive way.
I don't think a reasonable person would.
But morally, you don't have a problem with it?
No, I don't find it like my morality is just not something that I necessarily talk about. I don't have to justify my morality to you.
So, leftist Brianna Wu is the executive director of Rebellion Pac, a political action committee where they take in a bunch of money to try and push progressive candidates. She's a former candidate for the US House in Massachusetts, software engineer, and loves cars and video games, which actually is pretty cool because most women aren't into that stuff. So it's nice to see some representation there. So she went on Tim Pool's show and was absolutely mystified as to how Tim Pool could have such harsh criticisms about Cenk Uygur, who's the founder of the Rebellion Pac, and Sam Seder, the host of her favorite show, The Majority Report. So let's watch her dismiss all of Tim Pool's valid criticisms, while I show you what her comrades are really like on their shows.
Yeah, I think what I really came here to talk to you about, Tim, is, I think the entire premise of your show, Culture War, I think it's flawed. I think you have two veterans here on different sides that have really come to the conclusion that this is not a way forward for our country. It's a war that cannot be won.
Well, what's the premise that's flawed?
That we need to have a culture war and we need to be fanning these issues that are on the side, having very hyperbolic, approaches to talking to each other. The thing I've learned,
But we don't do that.
I think I have a different assessment, respectfully. They essentially produce political pornography. And what I mean by this is they aim directly at their readers' basest instincts, and they tell them exactly what they want to hear. And it's very often couched in the politics of just destroying people, treating your enemy as inhuman. And I think this really deeply harms our country. I think my message respectfully to you is I think you've played a role in this culture war. And I think it's bad.
No question.
I think it's very bad for our country.
So how do we get Cenk Uygur to come on the show?
Just call him.
He doesn't. He said no.
Did he really?
She's the executive director of this fat brown buffalo super PAC. She's like, yeah, go ahead, call him up. He'll come on. He's like, I've tried to, he won't. She doesn't even have that level of communication with someone involved in a PAC that's raising money for political causes. Brianna thought all Tim had to do was call up Cenk to talk to him. And Tim was like, I have. She's like, really? That's how disconnected she is from a person that she's doing business with, let alone how disconnected she is from what people want to vote for. And make note of how fingery she gets whenever Sam Seder's name is brought up or his show, The Majority Report.
Yeah, and not only that, but he lied about me, insulted me, and so did Anna. Then Sam Seder, of course, is the best example of duplicitousness, and I think Majority Report is the epitome of what you've described. That is not to say that no one on the right does anything similar, but I view the Majority Report as political WWE.
There we go. My favorite show, Majority Report.
Yeah, I think
A little fingery.
their whole game, their mission is exactly as you described, to take things out of context, manipulate them, to satiate their viewers' basest instincts or whatever. You look at Sam Seder and his Majority Report; their videos are all about people. It's about Dave Rubin. It's about me. It's not about high level politics or policy. It is the basest of social conflict and complaints.
What I think you get wrong about Majority Report is they do roughly a 2.5 hour show every single day. The first hour of it, it is bringing in experts on inflation and housing and professors,
I know that, and I agree with that.
It is honestly the smartest hour of any show that exists.
Let me show you how Sam Seder and the cast at the Majority Report treat someone who disagrees about transing the kids. He's very studied on this topic, he's very polite, he's amicable, he wants to talk about where they agree. Let's see how this smart, irreverent show treats this caller.
All right, Jesse, so you wanted to call him for a while. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, thanks to Emma. She's going to come on my podcast, Blocked and Reported. I appreciate that. I think there's probably a fair amount we agree on some of the stuff you guys discuss. I also think there's probably some areas where there's a little bit of disagreement, just stuff where there's probably going to have to be some, debate and compromise.
Please.
Jesse, I just want to make something clear. I don't care where we agree on.
It is honestly the smartest hour of any show that exists.
That is, I can't tell you how irrelevant it is to me what we agree on, whether it's in the context of trans stuff, whether it's in the context of any other politics.
It is honestly the smartest hour of any show that exists.
Wholly irrelevant. I don't care what kind of person you are. I don't care what your belief system is. None of that is relevant.
The response from the Young Turks was to call me ugly, post pictures of me, and insult me, even though I was right. And then in the conclusion of their segment, they said, he is right, the studies do say this, but he's ugly anyway. What was the point of that?
I didn't see the segment, so I can't
I don't
speak
do
to
that.
the veracity.
I'm not going to insult Anna's looks or anything like that.
It's not a way I would behave in my public life. I do want to, so two things, and I want to come back to Sam and the Majority Report. What I find really frustrating about Cenk's public reputation, and it's just mind-boggling to me, because the reputation of Cenk is this jackass, frankly. And it's just not the guy I work with at all.
If we say to murderers like Kyle Rittenhouse, hey, remember, if you shoot to kill, they won't be there to defend themselves. And then a judge will let you call them rioters and looters and arsonists, and they won't be able to defend themselves. And the judge will tell everybody they're not victims. They're just rioters. They had
the reputation of Cenk is this jackass.
I mean, he went to go shoot black people. They're not victims. Victims? No. If you murder them, you know what happens? The right wing gives you millions of dollars. They're like, oh, you went to go kill black people. And then at that Black Lives Matter protest, you murdered a couple of people. Bravo, way to go, murderer. Wait, guys, what are we gonna do with the right wing? Oh, that guy went to go kill black people, and then he actually did kill a couple of protesters? I love that guy. I wanna give him my hard-earned money. So if he gets out of jail, maybe he can murder more people on behalf of the right wing.
Listen.
How am I supposed to get along with that guy?
The reputation of Cenk is this jackass, frankly. And it's just not the guy I work with at all. And, so I think that you're wrong about Cenk. And I think if you look directionally at the totality of his work.
Oh, okay. So we're not looking directionally at the totality of his work. We just need to look at it directionally. What does it mean to look at something directionally? I'm looking at something, which means I'm looking in the direction of it. She's gonna keep saying directionally? She's even gonna get Tim Pool to say directionally. We found a new buzzword, fellas. Put on your seatbelts, we're going into directionally hyperdrive.
That the United States does have directionally one of the better justice systems in the entire world. I think something you're really skilled at doing is you find these edge cases that prove a point you want to have. I think directionally, most reasonable people would look at the phone call. I think directionally, if you look at the integrity of the State Department and the processes under Joe Biden, I think directionally, of course you can find things that you can criticize. I looked at most of your tweets over the last month, and I think directionally they were they were very pro-Trump.
Is that the oversimplification you're gonna say?
Well, you say it's evil,
I mean, we wanna talk about MK Ultra. Do we want to talk about the operations against Martin Luther King and Malcolm X? I mean, come on. I don't see it.
Directionally.
Directionally, we have a constitution and we have a government of, for, and by the people. What do we have today? I don't know. NSA spying? You think the NSA is not abject evil?
I'm trying to ask you a question, man.
The people who plan.
Do you believe that directionally, the people they've been charged for malfeasance?
Let's talk about Joe Biggs. Why did he get 19 and a half years?
I did not. I don't know.
But you said it was just.
I think directionally, every story I have read about January 6th.
And you say, I didn't read anything about Joe Biggs, but he deserves 2 decades. You see the difference?
Directionally.
Right.
My statement to you, which I will repeat.
She was
do you
questioned
really think Democrats directionally don't believe in border control?
Yodik directionally points inside of your body now. Anyways.
It masquerades as fact content, which it has a decent amount of, that's fine, but it is WWE. It is, when they come in here, they intentionally, look at Emma, right? What did she say when she came in here? Why do you think your show influences neo-Nazis to get mass murders or something like that? Which is an outright fabrication and a manipulation.
And then you called her a pedophile after the show.
Well, that's in response to her saying that there should be books explaining scat and sexual activities to minors when we discussed a teacher who was actually had the police called on her because she was talking to 10-year-olds about how to use Grindr, and Emma said that she supports that. I said, the only assumption we can make if someone wants children to learn how to use Grindr is that they have proclivities towards children.
Okay.
The Majority Report is more like WWE. The Young Turks is more...
Not. It is the smartest hour in the leftist universe.
This is what you do. This is my experience of you. You keep saying that people misunderstand me, and Sam said he was going to do this and this and that, and you're the one who creates the confusion. I don't know if you do it on purpose or if you do it because you're trying to obscure some agenda. I don't know. I don't care.
I think it's more that I sort of cleared this up 4 years ago, but none of you guys have read that post, and you keep referring to it. And that's why I'm just trying to get
I don't care about that post.
30 seconds. No, I know you don't care about it, but I'm just trying to get 30 seconds to explain what happened, which you can choose not to grant me that 30 seconds, but just...
I'm going to give you 30 seconds.
The Majority Report is more like WWE. The Young Turks is more...
Not. It is the smartest hour in the leftist universe.
Now, you think that your agenda is founded in a science that is not available to other people.
Emma and Sam are about to interrupt each other, interrupting him.
And I'm suggesting, I have no problem with doctors.
It's totally available to you guys.
No.
No, you're not. It's available to me now.
It is completely obscure to us because, as you've said on your show.
Sorry, you guys are talking Can you just talk one at a time? I can't hear my city speaker. When you come on the show, can we just get a little bit more specific about the SSD stuff?
Honestly, dude, I mean, look, I want to engage in good faith, and we have now had this conversation. And to be honest with you, I don't back down from anybody, but I really think you should just have a trans person on or an activist or someone of that kind, because I cover a bunch of issues on this program. We cover politics on a daily basis from different perspectives. And
okay, so you're backing out, though, is what you're saying.
Sure. I to be honest with you,
based upon your original complaint to me, I will as a boss, I will suspend her if she goes on your show.
We had a back and forth over email. We couldn't.
You called
find
the manager.
time, and
you didn't get the response.
I don't want to give this more life.
You're backing out. It's unfortunate. I was hoping to have you on because
Jesse, if that's what you want to hang your hat on, have a good rest of the week, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, we appreciate the call, Jesse.
Yeah, couldn't care less. Thank you. Bye.
It is the smartest hour in the leftist universe.
Sam has, look, it's not even my personal opinion.
Sure.
Everyone in the industry, including Sam, knows he's blacklisted for this.
Who is blacklisted him?
I am not going to get involved in the WWE of Sam Seder. I'm going to explain my position. But by all means, when Emma was on the show, she outright admitted they know exactly what I'm talking about.
I didn't get that impression, but okay.
She said yes.
Yeah.
I asked her, that Sam's blacklisted from various shows, and she said, of course. When Emma, in the middle of conversation, abruptly said, why do you think your show inspired a neo-Nazi mass shooter? Mm-hmm. That thing right there is why people be like, scratch this guy's name off the books, he's not welcome on this show.
Okay.
Because that was, what she did was a lie intended to generate shock content WWE garbage.
As a matter, so I don't agree with her assessment, to be clear, but the factual basement
The factual basement?
But the
Why say
factual
it?
basement of what she was talking about is there was a mass shooter, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong here, and they were found to be a really big fan of your
No,
show.
that's a lie.
That is not true?
That is not true.
The whole time, Tim, in very plain English, keeps saying to Brianna, the people you're associating with on the left constantly misinform people and treat it like WWE. And she's like, okay, well, based on what they've said, let me just tell me if this is true or not. The person who committed a mass shooting was a huge fan of your content. And he's like, no. She's like, no? He's like, yeah, this is like exactly what I'm talking about. You keep not getting it. It keeps sailing over your head. This person is in charge of raising money for progressive causes, and she cannot understand these simple concepts or look past the massive cognitive blind spot she has toward leftists. Do not trust them.
If you're watching The Majority Report, and they run a segment where they're being disingenuous.
Sure.
I don't watch The Majority Report. But an example being Emma, they did a segment about her saying, why did your show inspire this person?
Right.
Well, that's lying to people and manipulating the space. And if you're trying to convince people that because one crazy person posted 4 screenshots that my show had anything to do with that, these are the people who are making the culture war worse and fanning the flames of violence.
I don't think that's true.
So Tim is referring to how Sam Seder and the Majority Report fan the flames of violent extremism. I want to show you right now an interview with Sam Seder being asked about a caller to his show a month ago. Seeing no other option but violence due to the circumstances of the working class not improving fast enough, Sam Seder will say that his morality on political violence doesn't matter because he doesn't support outright violence.
The first thing you said was that you would never critique the sense of frustration, desire, or compulsion that there needs to be some type of violent response, which that's not exactly what I would say. But then after it, you did say that you practically didn't think violence would bring about change in a positive way. But you didn't really talk about like a moral condemnation of it. You didn't call the man crazy or unreasonable or anything of that nature. You just said, well, I don't think it'll work practically.
I agree. I don't think it would work practically. I don't think a reasonable person would assume that it would.
But morally, you don't have a problem with it?
No, I don't find it like my morality is just not something that I necessarily talk about. I don't have to justify my morality to you. You're talking about me advocating violence, and I'm not. You just quoted
I didn't say
me
you
saying,
advocated violence. I never
and
said.
I don't think a reasonable person would.
I never said you advocated for violence. What I said is that your rhetoric can lead people down this path, and you have someone who literally called into your show who says, "I listen to your show a lot, and I feel like we're getting there."
It's not my rhetoric. It is the reality of what we're dealing with in this country.
So Sam Seder says it's not his rhetoric. It's the reality of the country, which is the most rhetorically effective thing he can say to radicalize people that watch him. What he says isn't rhetoric, it's just objective reality. So let me show you the conversation in question. Yeah, I know, I'm hurrying up. I just want to show you Sam Seder dog whistling the quiet part out loud through the conduit that is his platform.
Or going on a parade instead of actually like striking and doing something that may affect finances or in more extreme ways.
In more extreme ways. To achieve your political goals.
Other things that may help you get what human rights you think your people deserve.
Yeah, I mean, look, I would never.
Let me real quick invite you into my world of what it's like to edit Sam Seder talking. The person interviewing him is going to say the quote, then I'm going to show you Sam Seder saying the quote. He only sounds coherent when somebody else says his quote.
The first thing you said was that you would never critique the sense of frustration, desire, or compulsion that there needs to be some type of violent response.
I mean, I would never critique the sense that, you know, and the frustration and the sort of, I guess.
It is honestly the smartest hour of any show that exists.
Desire or compulsion that there needs to be some type of violent response out of that comes out of that frustration. But
the first thing you said was that you would never critique the sense of frustration, desire, or compulsion that there needs to be some type of violent response.
Sam Seder sounds like such a mountain of wet diapers that somebody else quoting him is a way better representation as opposed to hearing him actually say it. I'm sorry, let's hear him discuss political violence while he hides his morality for political violence.
To me, blocking a highway is not a violent act.
Right.
You know, I mean, but if that was continued for an extended period of time, yes, I think, you know, and if there was enough people, yeah, I think that would make a difference. The only way you're going to get a movement that size is if you have the type of anger in at least part of that movement that is going to be interested in violence. And I'm not, you know, it's not a question of endorsing violence or not endorsing violence in that instance.
We got you. You're trying to endorse violence, bro.
Imagine if a right-winger had a 5-year fan call into the show talking about how the only answer is disrupting society and blocking traffic and alluding to some sort of disruption through violence, alluding to it. And the right-winger's answer was, I'm not going to endorse violence or not endorse violence. He's not going to show his moral stance on political violence. And somehow, that leads the caller to be like, oh, okay, cool, I get it. You endorse violence. Even to his caller. And then Brianna's like, yeah, this show's great, it's my favorite show. And like specifically having a gateway to violence through not having a moral stance on it and just ignoring any sort of moral repercussion or why it's bad. Not even just practically bad, but actually bad, just morally you shouldn't do that. But then also asks Tim Pool, yeah, so based on what I've seen by people that I watch, my favorite show told me, that mass shooter loved your show and he was a fan. And Tim was like, no. This is Brianna Wu's favorite show, and that's what they sound like. Meanwhile, when she talks to Tim Pool, from watching her favorite show, she's like, so it's a fact, right, that mass shooter was a huge fan of your show. This is exactly what Tim's talking about. She's misinformed by her source, and her source is leading to the violence that she's alluding to Tim perpetuating. So what do we do with these people? They'll lie, cheat, and steal to gain power. They'll lie right to your face about what they've said. They'll lie about what their friends say right to your face. I mean, I can't criticize you for wanting to enact violence on this unjust system. I couldn't possibly criticize you for that. And I mean, personally, I'm not going to endorse violence or not endorse violence. I'm just going to let you know that there's really nothing else you can do. These people can't be reasoned with. Brianna Wu can't be reasoned with. She lives in Dedham, Massachusetts, okay? She can't be reasoned with, and I'm not going to endorse or not endorse any sort of violence at all. I'm going to be completely ambivalent about it. They can't be reasoned with. So I don't know what other options there are. Do whatever you gotta do, I guess. Have a good one.